Hi, this is Tia Christiansen, and welcome back to the Energy Empowerment Masterclass. Top tools for women in power to double their energy for clarity, peak performance, and optimum health. Today, again, I hope you have your journals, because if you don't, run out and get them, because we are talking with Dr. Raynette Ilg. She's known as Dr. Ray to all of her patients and is the founder of Olive Branch Wellness Center in Illinois and author of Livin' La Vida Grande, Why You Can't Lose the Weight. And I am so honored and thrilled to have Dr. Ray with us today, because we're going to cover so much ground. And when she's not busy with all of her clients in the clinic, she is traveling and spreading her message and her wellness skills out into various communities, and is also always involved in fundraising for her local community. So Dr. Ray, thank you so much for taking time today.
Well, thank you, Tia. It's super great to be here, especially when we're dealing with empowering women. So I want to just give these women everything they need to live a powerful life.
Thank you for that. And like I said, everyone, we're going to dig right in here. So get ready. Dr. Ray, could you tell us about your journey, your big why, and what led you to found the Olive Branch Wellness Center and write your book? And how does that align with the Energy Empowerment movement?
Well, let me take the first half of that question and start with that. I was raised by a mom, but I had something more special than that, even though my mother was wonderful, in my life, and that was a grandmother. And she was the one who, when we were kids, you got to spend time with grandma, and spending time with a staunch French-German woman, you learned differently. And she was the epitome, let me say that again, the epitome of a Renaissance woman. So a little on her backstory, which I think will give women a little bit more power and a little bit more get up and go, and you can do this, is my grandmother came to this country in the very early 1900s. Wow. She was probably 7 at the time. She had an older sister and a younger sister, and her family bought a farm in Wisconsin. And when they bought that farm, my grandmother was the one who had to stay home all day and take care of her younger sister and make the meals for the rest of the family. Think about 7 years old, okay? So then when she was 12, by the time she became 12, the family was a little destitute. So she was hired out, hold on to your seats, as a governess.
Wow.
So she left home and was not brought back. All of her life, she was taught you had to learn how to do things for yourself. And she, you know what? She connected with communities of older women. She asked, she found out, she learned to do. And back in those days, you didn't run to the doctor for everything. You couldn't, because they were expensive. They were probably not able to get there in enough time. One doctor for, 50-mile radius kind of thing. And so she took her wisdom and what she learned from these older women and put it into her knowledge of herbs. So she used herbs and foods. So she was the one, I know. I don't know if we're visible or not, but I just saw your eyes bulge to a new level. So had she been around today, she was born in 1903, had she been around today, she would have been a doctor. But back then, women were not doctors. Women were supposedly empowered as nurses. Yeah. And now I don't want anyone who's a nurse to feel like I'm putting that down. It was just that her calling on life was a little bit different. So as I grew up and got to know her more as a young child, she had 3 different gardens. She had a flower garden, she had a vegetable garden, and she had an herb garden. And so she would tell you which garden to go out and pick stuff from, because, flowers have medicinal purposes too. And we would, pictures of my sister and I with the aprons tucked and wrapped around under our armpits, standing over these big pots of things we were stirring. We didn't know what it was called at the time. It was called decocting. And she would have us drink these certain things or those certain things when we weren't feeling well, or when my grandfather wasn't feeling well, my mom, my dad, my uncle. And I began to think, wow, so you don't really need to go to the doctor. trust me, it was a 10-year-old mind, you know. Well, let's speed ahead. I get married. I have children. I had a daughter who was sick a lot. And I thought, well, I'm not going in the backyard and digging stuff up. I know better. And so, you know, I started going to the pediatrician for her, as we all do, you know, and she just wasn't getting better. And I thought, wow, how could I be so dumb? Which was a wrong statement on my part, because you don't want to put yourself down. You are smart, you are creative, and you are talented. We all are. And I thought, why don't I go back to what I knew from my grandmother? So I went back to using herbs on my daughter. And you know what? She began to heal. And she had a better quality of life, which then stimulated me to actually go to school to become a naturopathic physician. So that is the whole basis behind the movement of Olive Branch Wellness Center. The movement is, let's teach you how to take care of yourself. You know, doctor does not mean right arm of God. It means teacher. So when you're teaching someone, my goal is to teach them how to take care of themselves, so they probably don't need me, or if they do need me, it's just in smaller doses, no pun intended, to take care of themselves. Because we find that people have reoccurring patterns in life. Oh, there's what I call the health Achilles heel. So, you know, we can take you off of this for a short amount of time, but then we have to put you back on 6 months later because it's coming back a little bit. Your body's having troubles getting that innate wisdom. Mm. And I think women have such power with that. You know, I can compare that, having a man in my office and say, how does it feel? And he just says, bad, you know. And I could say to a woman, how does it feel? She'll say, well, first it starts off with a sharp pain, and then that lasts about a minute, and then we just go to throbbing, and then that lasts about another 2 minutes, and then the whole thing dissipates. So women, we don't understand, we don't have to be big and powerful. We have to be very innate about ourselves. And we have that gift to be that way, which gives us a special kind of empowerment. So that's kind of been the journey with all of my naturopathic care. You know, a lot of times when I'm Skyping with patients, they'll maybe be on their lunch break at work or whatnot, and they'll say, you know, I paid even more attention. So then it wasn't a sharp pain, and then it went to stabbing, and then it went to dull. First, and then I had tingling in my, they begin to be very aware. And we as women have that incredible skill of awareness that I think society doesn't recognize us for. So I like to empower women about their bodies and about how to take good care of themselves. Because shouldn't we all be doing that, Tia?
Gosh, Dr. Ray, we sure should. And thank you for that incredible background story. I have just this amazing image in my mind of, you know, here's this young lady, and around the turn of the century, it wasn't an uncommon story for kids to really have to grow up fast and lose any kind of childhood. It was the nature of that time period in our history. Sure. And then here she blossoms into this this beautiful healer that you and your sister are able to connect with in a very unique kind of way.
Right.
This must have been beautiful. Endless hours, I would imagine, in the kitchen and in the garden with her learning.
Well, you know, I was very blessed when she did pass, because she would be well over 100 and almost 120 now. When she did pass, I was blessed to have her books. Wow. I know. And her notes and her handwritten things, which, you know, sometimes when you're stumbling through with a patient and you're thinking, what have I not seen? I can go in there and go, okay, yeah, I already knew that. Or, you know, she has a little arrow. And don't get me wrong, going through the medical training that I've had from naturopathic school is great. But sometimes it is the wisdom of others coming together, other women, that really gives us the power to heal.
Thank you for that. And Dr. Ray, can you tell us a little bit more about, you know, you said that your grandmother spent time with older women as she was growing up. What stories did she share about how she came to this knowledge? I mean, you're talking about our innate intuition as women, which is something that is very powerful, and that's where our divine power comes from. But she shares some stories about like where she started to get this information and how it came to her.
You know, so the good thing is by the time she became a governess, she could read and do math very well, you know, because when you think about the formative learning years, you think about 12 and over. You think about high school, junior high, high school. And she would do a lot of reading. She was fortunate that the family she was with had a very large library, because remember back in those days, libraries were in homes.
Right.
And so the other thing is, when you're a governess, you actually take children to the park. You actually take children places. And while they're playing or doing whatnot, because it was what we would call maybe a nanny type situation right now, you have the chance to talk to other governesses. You know, what did you use for that? What did you do? I remember she also talked about her neighbor. They used to trade flowers. Not like, oh, here's a pretty bouquet for you. But I have white peony, you have pink peony. The root from each of these does different things. I didn't know that. So she was always kind of talking and reading. But it would be always, if she found a kindred spirit, so to speak, there was information traded, a lot of information traded. So she had found out that the root from a certain peony bush, because none of this is intended to treat anyone who is listening, right?
Right.
Because you have to have these things checked out against your actual symptoms, was helping my grandfather with Parkinson's. But it had to be decocted a certain way. So then he got to drink some of that. So she'd be, you know, Jack, it's time for tea, because, you know, when I was talking to, I think her neighbor's name was Lola, and, you know, forgive me because I was a small child, Lola. And, you know, she said, and I, you know what, I almost equate that to tribal wisdom too, you know, the medicine man.
Right. And it very much is, you know, as these communities come together, it is very tribal.
Right. And, you know, naturopathic care in and of itself, we have groups that we belong to that are only doctors allowed. Sorry, the rest of the public. But there are so many different things we can use to heal, or put your body in a position to heal. That's the way I like to say it best. So there's an algorithm that goes along with a lot of medical information. Patient A plus symptom B always equals drug C, right? This makes sense. If you have hypertension, you're going to get a lisinopril, you're going to get a calcium channel blocker, you're going to get a metoprolol, you're going to get something like that. Well, naturopathic care says patient A plus symptom B equals everything from A to quadruple A. Okay, go find it, you know. You have to combine all of that information. And what I find is my network is vast and wide. You know, I have docs all the way up in Canada. I have about 6 friends in Canada that I can get information from, how they are doing it, what they're doing. All over the United States, I even have 2 people that I connect with in Germany who are practicing homeopathy, because those are some of the tools we use as naturopaths. So those all, that's creating my my new millennial tribe, so to speak. So when we use things that are specifically designed. So when I'm empowering a woman, I'm going to look at her and she may say to me, oh, you know, my gut is in such bad shape. And I spend a lot of time personally, I spend a lot of time with people in their gut, because it's the second brain. There is no, you know, there's no doubt about it. And more than 85% of your serotonin. So for those of you who don't know what serotonin is, it's I feel happy, you feel happy. Let's skip hold hands and go to lunch, that feeling, you know. That is all originates in the gut. So when I'm talking to women and they may be depressed, or one of the things I get a lot of time is I don't have self-discipline. I see the chocolate, I eat the chocolate. I see the donut, I eat the donut, you know. They don't have self-discipline. And, you know, some of that can come from having an unbalanced gut. So when we, you know, if I'm saying to them, your gut is off. And, you know, they're those people, we've all met them. I eat 4 almonds. I eat, you know, they count out, which is fine, but that tells me they don't have a problem with discipline. So we may need to use other herbs or other vitamins or other techniques to help them heal. But that gut, when everything is coming from that gut, your hormones, your adrenal health, and I know you had Dr. Carrie on, she's wonderful with adrenal health. And I'm finding your organic acids. So when we get into organic acids, all those are modulated there. So you don't feel empowered when your gut is bad. And let's face it, you don't feel empowered if you haven't had a bowel movement for 4 or 5 days.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's just talk down and dirty. As a woman, you should be having 3 to 5 bowels a day. Oh my gosh. I have had a client in my office way back when, and she said, well, I have 6 different size pants in my closet. And I was curious. I thought, why would any woman have that? And she said, well, because I have the pair of pants for the day I have a bowel movement. Then I have the pair of pants, you know, so as she's not having these bowels, she's going up in size because she's feeling bloated and, you know, and uncomfortable and gassy and all those other things, you know, we say to ourselves, I feel fat today or whatever. And I thought, holy cow. So once we got that bowel kind of balanced, and guess what it was for her? Something a lot of people don't think is actually in their bowels or in their intestines. She had so much yeast growing in her digestive tract that it changed her everything with her bowels. Well, guess what? When you're concentrating on how uncomfortable you are, you have a hard time making decisions. You don't feel like you're on top of your game. You don't feel like you have power over anything. You can't even go to the bathroom for that power.
Yeah.
So I think when you empower the body of a woman, you're really empowering the woman. So if you're empowering her gut to heal up and get, you know, you've checked her gut I checked for 18 different mold, yeast, and fungi. And once those things clear up, people are like, wow, I feel great. You know, I've been tackling stuff at work. I can handle the kids, the dog, the husband, the in-laws, and the parents. Because let's face it, as women, it kind of rests on us. You know, if you're single, you have your own parents and you have your nieces and your nephews. If you're married, well, that's just a whole big other cluster mess that gets added in. And I don't care how much shoulder pads you have, they're just not broad enough to handle all of that, you know. So when you start getting that digestion good, the passing the bowels, the cleaned up whatever shouldn't be there, these women are actually empowered to be all that they've been created by God to be. They run full steam ahead. So why wouldn't you want to empower your body so you're really empowering your person? And then the interesting thing happens too. So I don't know if any of our listeners are parents or not, but you know, as a mom, you have a responsibility to empower your children. And if they see you empowered, boy, it's not what's taught, it's what's caught. They run like the wind to be like you, whether you like it or not, or whether they like it or not, I'm not sure. You know, I have 2 grown daughters and a granddaughter that's almost 16 now. So, you know, I can speak to that. So I think it's very important for the empowerment of the body to come and empower the person. Now, I would like to, because I'm trained in traditional Chinese medicine as well, I think there's something very cool about what people do and don't know about yin and yang. So we know yin and yang is those kind of commas that are sideways, right? And there's a white one and there's a black one.
Right.
Okay, so yeah, because how else do you explain it, right?
Exactly.
And we're not visual today, so I can't hold one up, right? So yin and yang. So yin's excess, so where the bulb of that comma is, feeds into yang's in excess or deficiency. Well, it's the same way with a woman and her empowerment. If her health is not empowered, she's not feeding into her excessive power. So you need to feed your health. You need to make sure that it's going in the direction. Now, the interesting thing is I take yin and yang just a little further because I believe you cannot glue two things together that are opposite and have them be solid, right? Even though those will make a circle. I believe when you're balanced, so yin and yang, to use those terms loosely, are balanced, you don't have white and black. You have red, which is a power color. And the whole thing is red, and nothing breaks apart. And I associate that red with, the blood that runs through you. It's all balanced. So let's get, I'm a firm believer in women getting their health imbalanced. And I think the age group that sees this the most, and, Tia, you don't look like you're there, so. The age group that typically sees this the most is when you become into your middle 40s. Because you've done I've birthed my children. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you see it too, don't you, with what you're trying to do?
I'm 50, so yeah. I don't know why I'm whispering. Hey, I'm 50, everyone.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm whispering. I'm 60. Okay, so we got that all out of the way.
Right.
But I'm not telling you my weight. Okay, we're just sticking with this. I see it in the women in their early 40s.
Yeah. Because
they've done the childbearing thing. They've run everybody to soccer. They've had enough fast food to choke a goat. They've done the stress of, no, you're not staying there overnight. You're coming home. They've done all of the run here, be a lunch mother, be a this, be a that, still work. And their body is just, it's entering a perimenopause, premenopause, however you want to kind of look at that. And their body's going, I have had enough of you. I can't do this. So any imbalance they had when they were in their 20s that they were able to power through, they can no longer power through. Because they'll come to me and they'll say, I used to be able to just yeah. Right? And they're like, and I can't do that thing anymore to get through. And the body has just said, I've had enough.
Yeah.
So usually I like to try to get to women before they get to that point, so we have less of a breakdown. Because I don't know how many women are listening to us that are menopausal. Menopause is enough abuse on the body. We shouldn't go into it already torn down, right? Yeah. So when you can empower a woman, I believe, with her health and get her balanced out, stuff happens in life, and you and I are both old enough to know stuff happens when you don't want it to, when you least expect it. There's never a day that's perfect and didn't have a problem in it, but when you can get them balanced, they can handle that better. You don't go to pieces because the dog puked on the floor. Well, okay, you clean it up, put the dog outside, and go on with your day. But little things add up to be big things. So that's why I want to empower them with their health at this point in time. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Ray.
Sure.
A beautiful lead into my next question, and it's so easy to see how when your patients work with you, they're getting really deep conversation about their overall body,
right,
and their overall wellness, so that they can thrive and move forward in life, and deal with all the little things that come up. And what does energy empowerment mean to you?
Energy empowerment to me has a little bit different twist on it. Obviously, I'm going to look at this from a physician patient relationship. Yes. And the energy empowerment means you can get up when the alarm goes off, or better yet, you get up before the alarm, maybe 5 minutes, Energy empowerment means you have the ability to perform with energy, not like crazy energy, like you're cleaning everybody's closets all day, but you can make it till 9 o'clock or 9:30 at night, and then start the natural curve of the adrenal glands, which is to let you kind of calm down at that point in time. But I also like it that you have the mental clarity to be a part of your church, your larger community, your family, your work, and you can be a part of your own personal health. Excuse me, I'm tripping over my own tongue. Personal health, your own personal health. When you can start to begin to do one of those little things, I say, yes, we're on the way to energy empowerment. And then you meet somebody at one of those who maybe pulls you into something else. You know, you have a family member. I have a dear cousin of mine, and we pull each other into things, you know. But you have this want and this ability. It's not like you're, you know, pulling up your eyelids with your thumbs trying to get something done. So I think when you can add to all those areas of your life, and it doesn't have to be buckets full, it can be a thimbleful to start. I think that's what your empowerment actually means. It also means, which I think a lot of people maybe not actually objectively looking at themselves are saying, I'm responsible for me. This isn't my husband's fault, my children's fault. I physically sat down and ate the whole bag of M&Ms. I did that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know. I am responsible for, did I putz around when I got up and do 500 other things, and oh, well, it was too late to get to the gym.
Yeah.
You know, did I choose when I was at that restaurant to, oh, the fries accidentally came with it, so I'll eat these. Come on, we all
Earn
get
it.
there. Yeah, oh, what a tragedy. Did I choose to actually set time away for my faith and connect? Did I choose to do that? People tell me they're so busy, and I call BS lie. You know why?
No, tell us.
Because you have time in the shower
Yeah.
to think things through. You have time in the car. You have time while you're making dinner. And I know young moms don't believe this, but you do have time when you're in the bathroom. So I'm not buying that you don't have time to think things through, or to connect, or to do any of those other things. Give up your Candy Crush time, give up your Scrabble time. You know, I don't know what other games people play, but I think we have that ability, and we're not too busy, but we've been taught to think incorrectly. And I don't like, Joyce Meyer says something that really intrigued the heck out of me when I first heard it years ago. It stuck with me. She said, think about what you're thinking about.
Huh.
You know, women, we tend to get more down on ourselves and say, oh, look at my thighs are fat, or my whatever. And you let that take over your life. There are people that would kill to have your thighs. There were, you know, oh, I don't have this, or I can't do that. I think we get too involved in our negativities, and we don't get busy on the positivity. And when we do that, we lose our empowerment, because now we are not empowered. We are enslaved when we're looking at those negativities. So I think we can all do it, but we're unsure. I think one of the greatest tragedies of the world today is women, because we are removed from family. You know, you travel across the country. I don't know if your relatives are close. I have so few relatives that are close anymore. Everybody gets transferred. But there's a community where when things happen, women mentor other women, and there's no more mentoring going on. And that mentoring actually empowers women. You know, that's the way we run things here at this office. I tell them we don't have a hierarchy here. We are a team. But what I find is it ends up being a health mentoring, not coaching.
Yeah.
But mentoring. Remember, doctor means teacher. So I guess it was a long and drawn out.
Well, it was perfect. And I so appreciate that very full answer, because it's not something that most people are talking about. You know, they're talking about, oh, I feel tired or I feel fatigued, but we don't talk about energy empowerment very much. So I really appreciate that full answer. And Dr. Ray, what are your top tools for women empower busy women to double their energy for clarity, performance, and optimum health?
Right. I like to, so we'll speak medical, practical, and home, okay? So from a medical standpoint, I like to make sure that their vitamin D is optimized. I like to make sure that their gut is healthy and happy. And I like to make sure that their hormones are balanced. So that's from the medically. Then we talk from my favorite thing in the absolute world is to make sure they get a decent lunch. Women are notorious. Come on. Yeah, we're notorious for bad lunch. We just are. And it's one of the things that I encourage them to, and there's tons of them around, so it's not even an excuse anymore. I can tell you how to eat semi-healthy anywhere that's fast, but you know, we get tired of that. So I encourage them to use places, and there are places that will deliver a healthy meal. And you know what, you may pay $2 more for it, but that $2 ensures by the time you get home, you're not a raving witch, right? A broomstick around, you know? So I find that because a lot of women tend to skip or just have a nibble for breakfast. Because who has the time to make eggs or an omelet or, you know, whatever it is we deem is the healthiest for you, because we customize here. And a lot of times they don't have the time on the weekend, because I'll say to somebody, some of my clients or patients, excuse me, will be making a big, huge crustless quiche. Okay, you make it, you cut off a hunk and you beep it and you're good to go out the door. But some people don't have that time. So encouraging them to have lunch is a stability factor for them. And then there's the home factor. I really encourage them, and I know this doesn't seem like it's a part of health, but it really is for us women, because not only are you going to be nodding your head, but everybody that's listening to you is going to be nodding their head too.
Okay.
90% of what's in your house you don't need or use.
Mm.
Throw that junk out. Donate it. Throw it out. When you see less clutter around your house, when you see that you don't, do you really need 4 pair of black pants? The bowel woman aside, she had, you know, more than that, but what do you really need? Get rid of it, because it's so overwhelming. You see so much clutter, you know, you hate this thing, but you don't want to throw it out. Donate it. I think that makes a happier home, and it gives you more power to say, no, I like this clean. We're not putting anything on that table. Yes, I know I will see the dust, but the dust doesn't tick me off as much as the clutter. So I think it's a full encompassing empowerment. So you're empowered at home, you're empowered with your food, you're empowered with your health, as far as your vitamins and nutrients. But food is just such a big part of that. I think if I had to pick one, I think lunch would be the biggest issue with most women.
And yeah, to your point, everybody's running from point A to point B and trying to move here and there, and clearing the clutter is such an important piece, because if we're full and everything around us is full, there's no way we can bring anything new in, and the energy stagnates and it can't move around.
Right. Right. And then you're looking at this stuff, because this is the dress you're going to put on one day when you lose that 7 pounds. Oh, please. You know, if you hold on to it long enough, it'll be back in style and your granddaughter will be wearing it. Stop.
Fashion does come back. It is circular.
Yeah, you've noticed that too. Me too. My daughter was like, oh, Mom, look, bell bottoms. I'm like, I wore those. She's like, no, you didn't. So
You're so hip, Mom.
Yeah, I know. Not the way she wanted. No.
And Dr. Ray,
Yeah.
when your patients come in and you're talking with women, and again, I know you do a lot of work in your local community to raise funds to support women and
Yeah.
traveling all the time. So you're talking with a lot of different people, and they're like, "Oh, Dr. Ray, what you're saying sounds so great, but you know what? I just don't have time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so busy. I'm running around." And you touched on it a little bit. But what do you tell your patients who have that story to help them get unstuck from that so they can begin moving?
So I think what we do is, because this is all custom designed, it's not everybody follows a Whole30 diet or whatever,
Right.
you know. I say, good, I don't want you to make, you know, here's all the things we have to do. And they're just like bowled over, their eyes are huge, and you can see it running across their face. There's no way I'm going to do this. I knew I shouldn't have come, right? And so I tell them, yeah, this is all the things we're going to do. But we're going to start with 2 little things. So the little things to me might be one of the meals, and start taking one certain supplement.
Okay.
Oh, well, I can do that. And then the next question I get is, well, how is this going to interfere with my my medication? Oh, well, I've already run an interaction checker, so it's not going to interfere. Well, can I take this at such and such a time of the day? I tell you what, I give you the power. I always say, I give you the power. I give you the power to take this anytime between this time and that time. And then they get confused because we're so used to everybody else telling us what to do.
Yeah.
We have to take our power back and go, I have decided to take my vitamin D at 2 o'clock in the afternoon because that's when I have my lunch, you know, or I have decided. So we make those small changes and they see that, they get a little boost. I try really to pick changes that are going to make a big difference to keep them encouraged. So we'll try and make just 2 little changes, and then I want to see you in 2 weeks. Well, the funny thing is, you give them the list and they find out these aren't really as bad as they thought. And they're feeling a little better, so it's worth the effort, right? And instead of them having made 2 changes, sometimes they'll come in and they'll say, I'm doing the whole list, or I'm doing 3 or 4 more. So I think starting off with small changes. So small changes for some people can be something as innocent as, will you just take a multivitamin? And do yourself a favor, get a whole food multivitamin. So because I know you don't eat breakfast, a whole food vitamin can go in on an empty stomach. Oh. And so when they take that, it begins to set the stage for a better day. So little things, take a whole food multivitamin, you know, depending on what your blood numbers say, you might need a little vitamin D too. But again, small baby steps. Because once you make those baby steps, I find that it's encouraging to them, but they begin to feel like who they think they are in their head way back when they dust out the corners. Somewhere along the way, they lost their power, right? Somewhere along the way. So I think if they'll just do some of that type of thing, and we start them with small changes, and it's not to drag out their care, it's to have them invest in their care, which is investing in yourself.
Mm-hmm. And to avoid overwhelm, it sounds like, to your point, when you said in the beginning, you get a long list, it's overwhelming.
Oh yeah.
Like, no, we'll just start with a couple of things to move forward.
Exactly. Right. I always tell people, you and I are your health team. Mm-hmm. I tell them, I have a size 6 foot and I rarely put it down. But if I do, just know that if I say, no, this one you have to do at this time, I find people are more amicable to doing things like that because they have experienced freedom. Because let's face it, as a woman, you don't want anybody telling you what to do.
Right.
Okay? We're creative, right? We're talented and creative. We are all of those things. I don't care who you are. If you've gotten up and made a decision on what shirt to put on, you are talented and creative. Right?
Right.
And some people are more creative in their outfits than others. But so I think when you give them that decision to make, it lets them feel like they're more in control and empowered. And that's what we need. We need to stay on that.
Yeah, we do. The world needs it. Your families need it.
Right.
You need it. You know?
And the little eyes that live with you need it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whether you have sons or daughters, I don't know, so those kind of things. So yeah, that's, and I think that once you learn that you may be doing busy work rather than being busy, that helps simmer things down. If we need to, we will sit down and I'll say, what do you do? And we'll go through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And sometimes it's like, why are you going to the grocery store 3 times, 4 times every day? Sit down on Sunday morning. We do in our home. We sit down on Sunday morning and say, when are you going to be home? When am I going to be home? What do we have in the freezer?
Right.
And what do we need to put in the freezer? And what are we going to eat this week? And I think women need to understand too that eating out of a crock pot is pretty A-okay. It is better than ordering a pizza. Yeah. So once we get them simmered down and go, you don't need to be in this, you don't need to be in that, what can you really get out of? What is dragging you down? Certain things in naturopathic care, we say, what are your blissers? Things that give you bliss. What's your blisser? Does being on this committee make you feel great? No, I hate it. Well, why don't you back out and bless somebody else with that?
Yeah.
You don't need to be on everything. And once they start freeing up their time, they're like, wow, I actually have time to throw all that stuff in my living room away.
I can clean all that clutter out and get my meals planned and get it all prepared.
Yeah. I even encourage them, which I think is fabulous to do, and I do it probably 4 times a year. I don't do it every month. But there are books out there that teach you to cook for a day and eat for a month. So it shows you how to shop, so that 97 trips to Target or wherever it is you're shopping at, that's gone. Shows you how to shop for those meals, because we as women, we know, but we don't know that we use ground beef for tacos, we use it for spaghetti, we use it for sloppy joes, we use it for hamburgers, we use it for all these things. So why wouldn't you be buying things in bulk and possibly cooking it all, because it's all basically ground beef, and then separating it out to season it differently? Well, you just saved yourself how much time? You're putting onions on all that. Buy a 10-pound bag because you're going to need it. I mean, there are actual books out there that teach you how to cook for a day and eat for a month, and it gets frozen or put in the fridge. And then I write on the tin foil or the baggie, cook for 30 minutes at 350. You're done. Pressure gone. You could even get together with 2 or 3 neighbors if you can all manage that. And everybody does this and swaps out. You could have a chest freezer filled for 4 months, You
could. And save a little bit of money when you're buying in bulk, and gas money too. And the most precious thing, your time money.
Well, that's the one, you should be spending it with, your older parents, to see what information you can glean from them, your children, your husband. That is a powerful woman when she's got better control on her time and she has the health to do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, Dr. Ray, we've got a few minutes left. And so before we talk about this beautiful free gift that you have for everyone, would you tell us, what books are you reading for inspiration, or what books have you read that are some of those that you go back to your bookshelf time and time again, maybe just pull it off and open it up? And
yeah, don't we all have those favorites? Yeah. So my absolute favorite, I have 2 actually, absolute favorites. And the first one is like an old standby, but it has a sequel, okay? So Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Totally read that many times over. But I love the sequel that wasn't released until a few years ago because they thought it was too controversial for 1934. And it was called Outwitting the Devil. very interesting. It talks about the fact that we don't think for ourselves. So yeah, I think every woman should read those two, definitely. But right now I am reading Richard Branson.
Yeah.
I love him. Finding My Virginity. It's a big, thick book, you know, and I encourage women to read. Sometimes I read 5 or 6 pages at night before bed. I always read 10 pages in the morning, but that's my discipline. So I'm reading Richard Branson, Finding Your Virginity. I love his thought process because he gives power to the underdog, right?
Yeah.
He talks a lot about that, and he plays more than he works. And I think women, we think we need to accomplish more. So I like that concept behind what he does. And I'm into the thinking process right now. So Live Better, Think Better by Joel Osteen. Oh my gosh, where was my head? And I think as women, we so drag our heads down. And then I think every woman and every young woman needs to read You Can If You Think You Can by Norman Vincent Peale. I think those are staples. I know I've given those books to my children. We're in their middle 30s. I've given those books to my children, and they've been like, this sounds like it was written like 3 weeks ago, you know? I'm like, there's nothing new under the sun, honey, you know? But I think it's important. So, and I think every woman, okay, let's be real. There is not a Hallmark movie that does not end where the guy gets the girl. This is the way it starts up, right? They meet, they might not like each other. They have a little rare kind of fight, and then they end up, you know, falling in love. Then they have a little tiff, and then they're getting married next week or whatever. I don't know. Same thing with the stupid romance novels. Never. Read something that invests in yourself. We all know what happens with those novels, isn't it? I mean, come on, Tia, you know as well as I do.
It's the fairy tale model over and over again.
Yeah, it all ends the same. Listen, girlfriend, you are not Cinderella, okay? Get over it. Read something that gives you power to think and change. So that's the way I always believe. So that's why I read those books.
Beautiful.
And
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, and I'm an avid reader too. I mean, I think you can gain more from reading and talking to people than you can gain from anything else. TV, I don't know. Not podcasts, though. Not webinars.
Well, Dr. Ray, thank you for that amazing list of inspirational books. I so appreciate that. And in the few minutes that we have left, would you please let everyone know about this beautiful free gift that you have offered and what it's all about?
Yes, because I think it's the number one thing that women struggle with. They struggle mentally, emotionally, and physically with their weight. So we're giving a lot of chapters of Live in La Vida Grande, Why You Can't Lose Weight. And if anyone is so inclined, if they are struggling and they still want to get a little more information, they are welcome to contact the office. And we will also send them out the first 4 chapters of the brand new book, which should be hitting this summer. Oh, yay. It's Not All Your Fault, How Digestive Disorders, Adrenal Fatigue, and Hormone Imbalances Are Affecting Your Weight. So they can email us right at olivebwc.com, or they can give us a call at the office, 630-370-7290. They can go on our website, olivebwc.com, and do like they're going to request an appointment and tell us that's what they want. Most definitely I want to see everybody healthy, happy, and really doing it out there, taking their power back.
Well, thank you so much for such a generous offer. And as I've said before, everyone, the button the little click through to claim your free gift of those chapters from Dr. Ray's first book is right below this video, where it just says claim my free gift. And then you can always rewind this and call Dr. Ray's office or email them directly for some advanced chapters of her new book. So thank you again thank you for your time today, your wisdom, being here with us, and all of your generosity. This was a beautiful time to have with you.
Well, thank you very much. And my goal is always to try and outgive everybody else, just because I think as women, we just need to be loved and held by older women. I never really want to think of myself as older, but, you know, so I want to see everybody succeed. So if they're willing, I'm willing. Let's go change the world together.
Sounds great. And my thanks to each of you for watching and joining us today. And we will see you in the next masterclass. And here's to your energized life.